Welcome everybody to a look at the latest 4K limited edition release from Arrow Video, and it is 1973's Westworld. So we have actually looked at this in the past via another limited edition version. Now this was part of a range called Cine Editions that were released exclusively via HMV. I do believe they were in collaboration with Warner Brothers, as we had several other films in that collection with likes of Demolition Man, Rumble in the Bronx, Drunken Master 2, and the first three Mad Max films. And this is that version. So yeah, we reviewed this back in 2023. I think it was about October. So yeah, but this is only on Blu-ray, whereas obviously this new Arrow Video one is on 4K. But you did get a nice steelbook with the Cine edition, as well as poster, double-sided poster, and actually larger art cards, double-sided art cards with that release, and we do review this one. But nonetheless, like I said, we have reviewed it in the past, but I'm going to go through it again as it was a couple of years ago. So this is directed by Michael Crichton, who also directed the films Coma, The First Great Train Robbery, Looker, and Runaway. But for my money, this is the best of his films that I've seen. But there's only two others that I haven't. And it's a science fiction western film clocking in at 89 minutes long. Had a budget of $1.2 million, but at the box office made 10 million, so definitely a success, which is why it got a sequel called Future World. Not one I'd recommend seeing personally. And yeah, this stars Yul Brynner, who was also in the likes of The Magnificent Seven, Villa Rise, and Invitation to a Gunfighter. So obviously well known for being in Western films. But I also think he was really rather good in the underrated films The Light at the Edge of the World and Death Rage. Also stars Richard Benjamin, who I've only seen in one other effort, which was released the same year as Westworld, and that is The Last of Sheila. It's a fairly solid whodunit. And finally, James Brolin, who we've talked about late last year, as he got put on 4K as well with Night of the Juggler. Oh, you want to see the poster? There you go. But also, I saw him earlier this year in the god awful The Master of Disguise as well. So, bit hit and miss in terms of his filmography, unfortunately. So, yeah, Delos is a futuristic amusement park that features themed worlds populated by human like androids. After two patrons have a run in with a menacing gunslinger in Westworld, or Western World as it's called, the androids at Delos all begin to malfunction, causing havoc throughout the park. So this mixes the genres of sci-fi and Western, quite frankly, really rather perfectly, as this is a generally entertaining film which has a great premise that is set up really well, features an effective cast, a likable pair of lead characters, has solid action, it is well paced, manages to be engrossing throughout. The themes are more prescient than they were back on its original release, as obviously we've got a lot of talk now about AI and such, and obviously AI is prominent in this, and it has a good score. I also like all of the the slow motion bits in terms of the action when someone gets gunned down, or there's a really rather neat bar fight where 90% of the chairs, tables, and glass inside gets destroyed, and yes, all of that's really really fun. One thing to note is that this was released during the disaster genre craze of the 70s, and this, with its setup, the array of characters, and the ever increasingly serious malfunctions at the amusement park that eventually do lead to a disaster, as obviously most people do get killed in this, makes this strikingly similar to several of those disaster films from the same decade that this was released. So, not going to say it is a disaster film, because it doesn't fully go into the kind of tropes of that genre, but it definitely does feel adjacent to that. And yeah, it's easily one of my favorite kind of sci-fi films from the 70s. Ranks up there with likes of Soylent Green and Silent Running and the Andromeda Strain and such. And yeah, I really really like this new edition that we've got going on from Arrow Video, quite frankly. So got this slipcover that is over the main hard box, and then we've got the hard box itself, which is nicely done. So yeah, a little bit more interesting than the brown version from Cine Edition via HMV. To be honest, not a big fan of the brown. It does, look, obviously it does have a color palette that is, you know, original to the kind of decade that it's set in, was made in. But yeah, I do much prefer the color scheme with this one. We also get a booklet release as well, which we didn't get with the Cine Edition version. although that is the same photo that is used, or image should I say, that is used on one of the art cards from the Cine edition. Just slightly cropped a bit differently. And inside the booklet we get cast and crew, then we get Rise of the Machines, How Westworld Changed the Face of 70s Sci-Fi by David Michael Brown. Then we get We Don't Know Exactly How They Work, The Cautionary Tale of Westworld by Priscilla Page. So one thing that is noted in this is that the technicians that are running the park, who are all like scientists in lab coats and such, they don't know how the AI was really created in full, as it was created by computers themselves. So yeah, they can't fully work out why they are malfunctioning and running amok. And then we've got A Society of Guns and Action, Performative Masculinity in Westworld by Paul Anthony Nelson. Cosplaying Cowboys and Robot Girls, the costumes and production design of Westworld by Abby Bender. And then about the presentation, production credits, and special thanks as well. As well as, you know, shots from the film on top of all of that as well. So, such as the following. So yeah, all nicely done in terms of the physical quality there. Then we also have a double-sided poster as well, like we did with the Cine edition version, although this is much larger and on overall better quality paper. So we have the original poster on one side, and then we have the new artwork that we've seen already on the hard box, which I kind of like, but I do, in all honesty, prefer the original. I just prefer the colour palette again, so that's the main reason. And then we also have the case itself, which has the map of the Delos amusement park on the disc. So blue was the Western world, orange or yellow was the Roman world, and red is medieval world. Don't see much of the Roman world, to be honest. That's the least focused of the three. Medieval World does have some aspects to it, but it is mostly about Westworld, obviously, because that is the title of the film. But yeah, if I am going to criticise the film for one aspect, it's the fact that we don't have a decent amount of focus on the other two worlds overall. Medieval World is reasonable, but it could go a little bit further, and then Roman World really isn't looked at all that much either. So I can imagine it might well have been a production thing, because obviously it only cost 1.2 million, which isn't a lot, and obviously you are dealing with period, well, amusement parks that are supposed to be period correct in terms of their world respectively. So I imagine it might well have been quite expensive to be period correct in all respects, because it's definitely Western world that has the most period production quality. It generally feels like a Western town in 1880, whereas the other two do feel a bit, you know, underwhelming, to be honest. So yeah, and then we have the new artwork again on the sleeve, as well as the original on the reverse. As per usual, when we get the new artwork on the hard box or the slipcover or whatever, I do swap over to the original on the sleeve itself, which I will be doing. And then we get some art cards as well, all of which have the new artwork on the reverse of each one. So mild spoilers throughout. Some of these might well just be promotional material as well. But there is your Brinner. So we do get plenty of them, but they're on much thinner paper than the Cine edition version. And those are also in colour and bigger, as well as double-sided as well. So there is some benefits to the Cine edition version over this Arrow Video version, but the main one is, of course, the fact that it is in 4K. And it has had some restoration work done to it. So it's been restored by Arrow Films and is presented in its original aspect ratio of 2:39:1, which with newly restored 4-channel stereo, stereo 2.0 and mono mixes, as well as a Legacy 5.1 remix. I imagine that is from an old Blu-ray, maybe even the one on the Cine edition version. The film is presented in 4K resolution in HDR and Dolby Vision on the 4K Ultra HD release. The original 35mm camera negative was scanned at 4K 16-bit resolution at Warner Bros. Motion Picture Imaging. The film was restored in 4K resolution and color graded at Duplicate, All materials sourced for this new master were made available by Warner Brothers, and quality control review was completed by Pixel Logic, and audio restoration was completed by Borstein Gislason. So, yeah, it does look and sound much better than the Blu-ray version that I have got to my left here. So, yeah, definitely better in that regard. And yeah, then we also have all of the extras on the disc as well. So there are a few extras here that have been lifted from the older Blu-ray that I've already looked at before, but we do have new extras like the audio that obviously I've mentioned. Uh, Not a new extra, but we do have optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. But then we do have brand new audio commentary by filmmaker and film historian Daniel Kramer. Cowboy Dreams, a newly filmed conversation between actor Richard Benjamin and producer screenwriter Larry Kassawaski. And then we have At Home on the Range, a brand new video interview with actor James Brolin. Holly World, producing Westworld, a brand new video interview with producer Paul N. Lazarus III. Sex, Death and Androids, a brand new appreciation of the film by author and film scholar Alexandra Helen Nicholas. And then these next few are ones that were on the Blu-ray that I've shown you already. So those are On Location with Westworld, an archival behind-the-scenes look at the making of the film from 1973. Beyond Westworld, a 48-minute pilot episode of the 1980 follow-up TV series. And then the theatrical trailer, as well as image gallery and all of the physical aspects I've shown you already. New artwork has been done by Eric Roper. So, yeah, I do really like the new artwork, to be honest, but I do, on the whole, prefer the original. But on the whole, the film itself is fantastic. It gets an easy 4.5 out of 5. And, yeah, like I said, easily one of my favourite sci-fi films from the 70s. And, yeah, thematically speaking, it still is relevant, but it is also just an entertaining and engaging film overall anyway, regardless of that. So, yeah, well worth seeing. I do kind of recommend the Cine Edition just because of the physical aspects. I do like the fact it's got the steelbook, the much bigger and coloured art cards, which are on thicker paper. And the poster is decent enough as well. It's nothing spectacular. In fact, the original poster on the one side does look a bit cheap in terms of the quality. As you can see there, some of the words are faded out and such, which isn't me leaving it up or anything. I don't even think I've actually put this up before. But we do get a nice version of the poster in black and white on a reverse. But yeah, obviously the big draw with the Our Video one is the fact it's on 4K and it does look great. And then you've got several sound options as well, which are all solid. And yeah, you also got some physical extras here that you don't get with the Cine Edition, like the booklet, for instance, and the much nicer hard box. So on the whole, yeah, it's a overall good improvement, and one that I'm glad I've got. I'll definitely sell the older Cine Edition to recoup some of the money that was spent on this new version. But on the whole, yeah, a good film, one that is one of my favourites, and yeah, overall a perfectly good release from our video, and a nice overall start to the year. I don't think we've bought any other physical limited editions from them so far this year. Not in terms of the hard boxes. So yeah, overall a good start for them, and one that hopefully continues. Nonetheless, so if you have seen Westworld before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.